Hey everyone, and welcome back to the second episode of Chit Tuesday. Today, I'm gonna actually kind of wing the topic of today. It's exclusively opinion based today. I'm not gonna have much theories in mind. It's gonna be more based on my personal experience as a novice writer, as a novice communicator. And the topic of today is actually kind of related to last week's topic, and it's going to have a lot of other topics embedded within it that we're going to talk about in other videos because it can be quite extensive. So I want you guys to suggest me if you actually enjoy hearing this kind of laid back topic conversation, a little bit less of theory and a little bit more of opinion. And if you don't like it, well, I'll go back to trying to make these videos exclusively theory based. So, a topic I'm going to be working with today is words. Words as a symbol and how they have a specific value embedded within them. And a lot of these things I'm about to say may sound kind of obvious. It's one of those things that people have within their mindset and that they consider like common sense. But normally people don't talk about common sense. And what I've personally found is that when you sit down and talk about things that are marked as common sense or that are marked as obvious, then a bit of other ideas come popping out of it. And I think one of the most interesting conversations I've ever had has been when I talked to a close friend of mine about things that fall into the mindset of common sense. While studying communication, they've actually taught us, or actually have told us, that in most cases, when communicating, getting rid of this knowledge of common sense may be a good thing. Sometimes not, because when you try communicating something and you want to implant something in the mindset of other individuals, if you take their common sense and embed that into your message, then it'll be a lot more probable for this message to be embedded in their mindset, of course. So if I say something you're fond of, or if I say something that makes a lot of sense to you, and I add on around that concept, then the most probable thing is that that specific add-on that I put upon the common sense concept will also be linked into your mindset. This is, of course, is related to the manipulation part we talked about communication in last week's video. I might do a video specifically on this, but probably way into the future, not right now. So, as I said, today's video is the importance that words have and the value that they carry. I'm pretty sure that most of the viewers, or I'd hope most of the viewers, know what a synonym is. And it's when there's a word that means something almost the same or pretty similar to another word. And normally when you write, you try using different synonyms if you're going to repeat a concept. So when you're writing or when you're talking, of course, you're trying not to make it repetitive, because if the other individual feels like your message is being repetitive, they might lose interest, for example, or they might think you're talking about basically anything, like you're talking about something you don't know, because you just keep repeating the same words and stuff. So that's why we implement synonyms. But take, for example, a situation where you're not going to be repeating a word way too often, and that word is kind of a key concept inside the theory you're trying to explain or the idea you're trying to transmit. Let's say, for example, I don't know. I'm gonna give like a really dumb example at first. Let's say, for example, I'm trying to tell this other person that this ball is blue. Let's say I have a blue ball, and I'm telling him, hey, this ball is blue. And this other individual says, okay, yeah, I can see it's blue. And now let's say I didn't tell them that. Let's tell him that instead of saying ball, I can say round object. I know those are two words, but it's a different type of synonym. It's a synonym by, I think it's by context. That's what it's called. So let's say I have this round object and I show him the ball, and I add this round object is blue. Even though the sentence is actually extremely simple, and the idea is also extremely simple because I have a visual representation of what I'm showing him, and I'm counting on the other person knowing what object I have in my hands. If I use ball or if I use round object, the impact is different. It could be slightly different, but nonetheless, it's going to have a difference. It's going to mark a difference. Whether you use a synonym or you use the original word that was planned. And this kind of comes into context when people try to make their messages sound more eloquent, or they try to make it sound more complex by replacing simple words with more complex ideas or more complex sounding synonyms, some that are maybe less frequently used, let's say. And what they actually are doing is transforming their message into a whole different thing. Maybe even they make their message sound worse or have a worse impact than the original thing they were trying to transmit. So it might sound a bit abstract, but when I use a word and I want that word to be the main thing in the idea I'm transmitting, well, don't change it. Even if it looks or seems like a very simple word, don't change it. There's no problem with using simple words. Even if it's academical writing, whatever type of writing or speech you're trying to do, using simple words can have a very impactful consequence in the other person. And I don't have a specific example for this as of now. I might leave an example in the description, but what I do have is a somewhat fun anecdote, and it kind of proves this theory or this concept of the individual value that a word can have. So, I think it was at least, I'd say a year ago from this point on, from the point you're going to be watching this video, that I was talking with a really close friend of mine. We were waiting to leave university because we had finished our classes for the day. And this friend of mine, we started talking about writing. We started talking about speech and writing. And essentially, what we ended up talking about was an anecdote from her childhood. She told me that when she was little, or I say little now, but let's say she was around, I guess, 14, she had read a book, because she's a pretty avid reader. She had read a book that specifically was entitled for children, but it talked about this concept that can seem so abstract, put plain out. And that's the value of words. I'm not sure of what the title of the book was. If I can figure it out by the time I post this video, I'll post it in the description. or if not, I will post it at some other time. But basically, this book was a pretty simple book because it was oriented to a younger audience. But it talked about a small child that didn't use certain words. I'm unsure about why he didn't use these certain words, but he just flat out decided there were these certain words that he wasn't going to say. So, after a set period of time, there had come an event where he needed those words. He needed to use them. And being a fictional book directed toward a younger audience, these words actually rebelled against this young kid and said, no, we're not going to let you pronounce us. It seems really silly because the main concept of it is actually pretty silly, but it shows the power that certain words can have. It's like very specific situation was presented, and this kid was in deep need of using specific words. And they could have been like really dumb words that had synonyms, but maybe, for example, this kid maybe didn't know the synonyms, and maybe the synonyms didn't actually perfectly fit, because I would suppose that a lot of you have experienced that sometimes when you're trying to write something and you're searching for synonyms, there are synonyms that you just say, no, it wouldn't have the same impact if I used that instead of the original word. Well, maybe that happened to the kid. He maybe had synonyms in his mind, but they wouldn't have completed the mission or transmitted the message as successfully as if he was using these original words. And he wasn't able to use the original words because he had never used them before. So, I had thought about ending this video by reminding you guys that this video is specifically opinion based. As you saw, I included an anecdote of a year back. I thought it was relevant. And actually, that little story that I told you was one of the main motives behind me filming this video, filming this idea onto a video. Of course, there is a bunch of theories, I think mainly inside the linguistic discipline, where certain authors or certain writers have actually thought about the value of words from a theoretical point of view. One of those, I think it's quite famous, is part of the linguistic theory that is proposed by Ferdinand de Saussure. He talks about the value of words from his semiotic sign theory, from semiology. So, considering that's a very complex concept, and I actually have planned to talk about that concept in a different video, that I'm specifically going to talk about sign theory from two main authors, one of them Saussure. I'm not going to talk about that in this video, so I'm going to leave that hanging so you guys can watch the next video, of course. And that's where I feel like I'm going to end this video. It was strictly opinion based. I have to repeat that because I don't want any of you going about saying these are facts, because they might be facts, but they might be not facts. So careful where you use these ideas. And you can click off this video now. I'm going to proceed to talk about like a minute of YouTube stuff. So goodbye. And regarding the YouTube stuff, I have a blog, as I say in every video. I always link everything in the description. You can go visit it. I might write about this concept at some point. I haven't written about this yet. And I also have social media on Instagram, on Twitter. You guys can go follow me if you'd like. You can DM me there freely, or you can leave a comment on this video, whichever platform you prefer. And I also have a Discord server you can join. You can talk to me personally there as well. And I think that's basically everything. All the links will be in the description as always. I wish you all a wonderful week. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the videos I'm going to be uploading. And that's about it. Goodbye. Love you all.